And now for some news from India. From India's defense sector, to be specific. Yesterday, Russian media reported a deal, an arms deal between New Delhi and Moscow. It's for the IGLA S anti-aircraft missiles. It's a Russian staple missile. It will now be made in India. That's the deal. And this is the IGLA S, a portable shoulder launch system. One person can use it to target enemy aircraft, and the missile will do the rest. It has the ability to differentiate friend from foe. It will chase down an enemy aircraft and explode when it's close enough to take the jet down. Simple and effective. And India is quite familiar with the system. India has been using the IGLA series for years. Russia first developed it in the 1980s. This was the first missile iteration, the IGLA 1. And India has been buying the missiles for decades. Now, IGLA S is the newest version. The Russian armed forces inducted it in the year 2002. So not exactly the latest cutting-edge technology, but it's typical Russian equipment, older, bigger and bulkier than Western counterparts. In this case, the American Stinger missile. The Stinger is the American counter for IGLA. IGLA is not as light or sleek as a Stinger, but the bulky system gets the job done. That's why it's extremely popular. The IGLA series is used by more than 30 countries. The list includes Armenia, Hungary, Romania, Malaysia, Singapore and Vietnam. So why has India decided to manufacture this 20-year-old, albeit popular, anti-aircraft missile? Let's look at the economics. This IGLA deal, IGLA S deal, is not your usual defense purchase. It's a manufacturing deal. The Russian IGLA S missiles will be made in India under license. It's a boost to India's domestic arms industry. Remember, India is the biggest arms importer in the world. New Delhi buys weapons from practically everyone: Russia, France, the US. India has defense deals with every major arms supplier. But the ties with Russia are time-tested. Moscow is still India's biggest arms provider, accounting for 45% of India's defense imports. So this deal will be a boon. It will boost India's domestic arms industry and perhaps save on some import costs. And this is not the first time India and Russia have inked a deal like this. They signed a similar deal in 2021. Back then, it was to make a gun, the AK-203. The deal was a joint venture between public sector companies, the Indian Ordnance Factory Board, and Russia's Kalashnikov concern, also Russia's sole defense export firm, Rosoboronexport. These three tied up to make the AK-203 in India. The partners in the IGLA S deal still have not been announced. It's likely to involve the Russian export firm again and KBM, that's the Russian firm that developed the IGLA. What about the Indian side? All we know is that a private company will be involved. And when will the IGLA S start rolling out? No date has been given. So let's look at the AK-203 deal for answers again. That deal was inked in 2021 and production started only this year in January. So roughly a 2-year time. Of course, the AK is a gun and the IGLA S is a missile, so the timelines may differ. But the point is, don't expect made in India IGLAs to roll out immediately. It takes time to set up factories after all. But again, that's a good thing. India will make the IGLAs domestically. There won't be a dependency on imports. And India will not be vulnerable to supply shocks like war. The war in Ukraine has hit Russia's arms exports. It is redirecting weapons to the front lines. And that's not all. Russia is even buying some weapons back from its partners. So a plant in India bypasses that risk, leaving it better equipped.